So welcome everybody to Between Two Spokes. I'm Craig, this is my buddy Paul, and today we're going to talk a little bit about his experience in riding, the bike behind us here, this beautiful BMW, the gear he wears, the gear on the bike, and this gorgeous trailer behind us. So Paul, why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into riding?
Yes, well Craig, first of all, thank you, and what you'll see through this story is much of this bike comes right back to Craig, but my story with bikes starts in elementary school. I grew up on Air Force bases all over the world, and it seems like every kid has some sort of a motorcycle.
Okay.
So elementary school, my dad bought me and my older brother a used ratty mini bike. And all I remember is that square frame with that big Briggs & Stratton 5 horsepower engine. It sounded like a Harley Davidson when you're in the 4th grade, right? Yeah. And I just remember the feeling of that acceleration. The brakes didn't work right, the steering wasn't right. A lot of times the throttle would get stuck on full. My dad gave us a little block of wood that we would tap to disengage the spark plug.
Oh, that's funny.
It was just a train wreck. I mean, would we do that for our kids today? No.
Yeah, probably not.
But, you know, we went from there to the Honda 70s, the little mini bikes.
Like a trail rider?
The trail rider that you see on Bring a Trailer, people are buying and restoring. I had buddies with the Yamaha 125s, the Enduros, and it was all off-road riding. And I had this 50-some-year gap until I saw this bike that you owned. Yeah,
so let's talk about that. So this was actually my first bike. I've been riding for a while. You've probably seen that in my profile. I've been riding for a number of years, but I got reintroduced into it, and this was actually the first bike I bought. I found it on cycletrader.com, and my buddy Mike and I, who we did the K-Bike recording on, we went down and found it. It was on the eastern seaboard somewhere here in Virginia. And we went down and picked it up. It was beautiful. It was a garage find. The guy rode it occasionally. And as you can see by how clean it is, you know, it's a beautiful bike. And it kind of broke my heart to sell it off to Paul, but I know it was going to a good place. And I got another bike that we did a recording on before. And I'm so happy that we're coming back and revisiting this bike. It's a gorgeous bike. Why don't we talk about the year, make, model, all that?
Yeah, so this is the 2005 BMW GS R1200. And, you know, the predecessor to this one is the one that had the expedition of the long way around. That's pretty much went around the world. And it kind of put the BMWs on the map for both a touring and an off-road bike. And I loved it the first time I saw it in your garage. And yeah, we can talk about that story from that point if you want.
Yeah. And then what happened was, as I talked about this in a prior episode, Mike was looking to diversify into 2 bikes. I bought his 2023, and then Paul got this for me. You remember that phone call I had called you were on the road? I'm like, hey Paul, I've got my eye on another bike. What do you think about that bike that you were kind of eyeballing in my garage?
I will always remember that call. I was on a layover flight coming home from Austin in Houston. I was sitting at a bar. I happened to have a beer in my hand. He called me and said just that. I'm gonna buy this new bike. I'm selling this one. I know you've always had a love for it, but I need to know today. I made that call to my wife, and it was about a 20-minute conversation. And you know, in the part of selling, Craig, when you get a yes, you just stop selling. Her last comment to me was, "I won't tell you no, because I know it'll break your heart." And I said, "Done, babe. Thank you very much."
That's the go-ahead.
And her apprehension was, you know, you're going to hurt yourself, right? Anyway.
Well, and so that's a little explanation too. So most of Paul has this trailer behind us that we'll talk about, and Paul bought this one really for the off-roading capabilities. I rode it on and off-road, and I think as I mentioned in a prior video that I found that I did not feel good on the highway in this bike, but when I was off-road, it felt like $1 million. And you had talked about maybe getting an RV at some point, at least trailering it, this property you were going to ride on it. So it was kind of like a perfect win-win for both of us. Worked out really well. And truth be told, I'd like to buy this bike back at some point. So I asked Paul to please don't sell it to anybody else. So why don't we talk about it? So again, so it's a 20-year-old bike. Can you believe that? I mean, it looks brand new. 1200cc. Talk to me about, you know, I think it's pretty much the same as when I sold it to you, but we can talk about what I added. I can get into detail if you'd like.
Yeah, go right ahead. We'll pick it up from there.
So at the top, the Mosko Moto bags. I did a bit on this on my bike. The reason I bought them, and again, I needed something with a little more space. It came with the panniers here, the hard case bags, and he kept the top tank, which is the way I used to ride it too. So just a little extra space for like gloves or a shirt or something like that, a bottle of water. He doesn't have a tank bag, so that tail bag is pretty handy. The Mosko Motos, they hold a lot. They're great for a couple of days if you want to go on a ride somewhere. I used to keep a separate coat as well because we have that heavy gear. I had heavy gear from climb, and I would keep my lighter stuff in the Mosko Moto bags. How do you find that? Have you used that when you went off-road?
I have, and what I like about it, not only the look, but if you have these larger hard case ones in your trail riding, you do feel like you have a really wide back area. And can you imagine clipping a tree or a small tree, falling over? So I love the vintage look of the original bags. And I'm actually, like we were talking earlier, I love the kind of the Mosko Motos tied in with the older bag.
Yeah, and I actually like, of all the tank bags they have too, I like the little two-tone on that. And mine's a triple black bike. What I like about this is it's got a lot of silver, and it's got a lot of polished stainless on it. It's just a really good looking bike. That's the original saddle, correct? The original seat?
It is. You had two with it. This is the lower of the two because I wanted to be able to be, because of the weight of the bike, I want to be flat foot when I'm in the seat, and I love that lower seat.
Yeah, and it's got the original brush guards, which is helpful.
Yeah.
It looks like you may have caught a brush.
Yeah, it's the first thing I did was do the Motorcycles of Dallas two-day off-road class. And so, truth be told, I've laid it over a few times. This has been snapped, which I need to get a new one. But
just got that. Excellent. Now, there is no GPS on this. Of course, Paul is going to a location he already knows about, so GPS isn't that important to him. But it's got the old gauge cluster and the GPS, which could hook up right here if you'd like. So if you want to move down a little bit, you did go with the crash bar, the lower crash bar. Yeah, where did you find that?
You know, we were talking about that earlier today. I got it somewhere offline, and I was sharing with you, I've been looking for the upper crash bars. I've not been able to find one. I just love those big cylinder heads, and for all the reasons you get a lower crash bar, I got that, but I also want to put the lights on down there like you did on yours.
Yeah, so I put Denali's on mine. I have D3s up tall, which would look really tight here. If you had the D3s tucked in, you could actually get a mount that hooks underneath, unless you go to the uppers. Now, it was a challenge. I remember looking when I owned the bike, it was very hard. I think you'd have to go to one of the Chinese websites to find uppers for this. But if you did, you could hook up D7s up top and then D3s down below. The D3s, I would do them anyways because you're gonna have all that visibility.
Yeah, I love that.
And then to get that to work, you put a CAN bus, which is their version of the chipset that works with this bike that allow you to power that. So when you turn it on, it's working right. You haven't changed the horn, correct?
Not changed the horn. No.
Okay, so when I bought the bike, one of the first things I did, I went to the actual wider foot peg, as you see down below here. I got those on Revzilla, I think, so there'll be links down below. Again, back to a little bit of housekeeping. If you like what you're seeing here, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button, and there are links down below in the description that brings you to really affordable places to get this stuff. So I found those. I like that because I found with my boots, the old pegs were just too narrow, and it really actually hurt my feet after a while. And let's go to tires. So what did you do about tires, Paul?
Yeah, well, when I bought it from you, it was the original tires.
Yeah.
And then you were getting ready to put on you ended up with the Dunlop Trailmax.
Correct. Yeah.
And I, of course, took a look at them, went and took a look at them in the store. Absolutely, love the look of it. I love the reviews on it.
Yeah.
So yes, these have the Dunlop Trailmasters.
Yeah, and you got those at our good friends at Motorcycles of Dallas, right?
I did pretty much everything here I got there, by and large.
Yeah.
We can go around the horn, but love the tires. They're still practically brand new. I haven't even rubbed off the little,
But you've probably done more off-roading with those tires than I have. I've done, horse trails, just out in, just beyond Middleburg. So a little bit of rough dirt, a little bit of crushed stone, but you've done some real dirty grass with these,
I have.
right?
I've been on, this is in some property that we have access to in central part of Virginia where it's trails, and trails that have typically been, like small trucks have gone down, pickup trucks. So in some areas you have pretty deep ruts.
Yeah.
So it's riding on a flat path, and then all of a sudden you got these ruts.
Yeah.
And it's usually a little bit wet in there. So you got these big cylinder heads, and you got these Dunlop Trailmasters, and you're in the rut, and you're basically just getting through it. Sometimes just navigating with it, and then you got to get out of the rut. And with a bike of this weight, getting out of the ruts, so it all comes handy. I love getting through some of the actual streams that are down there too. They got the bigger rocks in them, so I really enjoy the tires with it.
Yeah, they're great. And I noticed too, one thing about, I have the triple black version of this bike, and I really like the stainless rims. I think they look beautiful. The spokes pop on the bike too, I love that. The frame, you've got the frame holders, I put those on. So I had to put on these frames for the Mosko Moto bags. A little bit different than their design, but it's still dropped in, which is really nice. Yeah, so that's great. And then you've got the skid plate underneath. You have it hit, I don't think you've hit that to protect the bike underneath here. That's the stock one, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was no change with that. The
Okay.
only thing I did is I swapped out to a clear
Oh, that's right.
windshield.
That's right. I do actually like the looks of that. So when I had the bike, it was the original windshield, which over time, it will turn yellowish. So I actually, just for the heck of it, spray painted it black. But I understand why you replaced that, because I would have done the same. So this bike actually heads up as well. This was originally red. So I just, because I was trying to mirror the triple black look, I took these panels off myself and spray painted them a satin black, which I think looks pretty good overall, but the red does pop. So you talked about maybe going back to that.
Yeah, I do. I always think about what is original on it.
Yeah.
And with the helmet, which is kind of a call out to my mother, who's born and raised in England, so I got the whole British flag.
Yeah.
I like the red, and I'm thinking about, you had sent me pictures
Yeah.
of the bike before you painted it,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking of taking it back to that bit of the red
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Well, that episode number 2 of season 1 shows Mike, his K bike, which is blue and white. So we took those panels off, and you want to have them professional. If you want to have them done professionally by a sprayer, I can take you there. We can get those off. These come off in no time at all.
Perfect.
And that would be really inexpensive. You'd shoot them well. So let's move on to the gear. You already talked about the helmet a little bit. Let's chat about how you picked that up, how you came about deciding on that model.
Yeah, again, back to our friends at Motorcycles for Dulles. Just took a look at everything was there, did some reviews. You and I spoke. I was thinking of the one where the whole bottom tips up.
The modular design.
Just because when you stop on this one, even when you raise the visor, the talking, you still have the bar at the lower part. But I ended up with this one. I like it for the overhang here, just for kind of a sun visor type of overhang. I like the color scheme. It is about the looks and the aesthetics there.
Yeah.
But I love the wrap at the bottom, and I feel good with it as a helmet.
Yeah, I've got the same one, so does my buddy Mike. I love it. I'll probably get another one to match my K-bike when I get a K-bike. The gear over top, so you want to grab that piece of gear there? Yeah, so Paul bought a couple years ago, right? This BMW Motorrad one piece. Yeah, and what do you wear underneath that, Paul, by the way?
Well, so this is the part of it that I really would like kind of comments from your viewing audience. Is I really haven't dug into the proper off-road riding gear.
Yeah.
I got that because it's lightweight and it's rainproof. I wear just layers, right, that I can take off and drop into the saddle
like what you have on now, like Under Armour
this.
stuff.
Yeah, and then I do have the yellow jacket that you came. What you gave me also had a yellow jacket with some pants too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more that, and just really that, just for overall cover. It even has a hood that unzips and you can pull over, like if when you're stopped. But that's as far as I got with it's not really proper off-road riding gear, but I need some.
Well, that's like the one-piece modern version of the yellow stuff I gave you, right? Because I think that's like, hazardous stuff. If it's in your back tank, if you have to pull over and it's rainy, that's what you would put on.
Yes.
So that's really nice. So that's an updated version of that. So if we move down to the gloves, you picked up some gloves.
Yeah.
You can see these are the BMW versions. You got these are the rally versions, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, you got these at Motorcycles and Dulles as well?
Did, yep, and I like the fit is really good, the Velcro strap, but the knuckle guards overall, right? It's I've hit the ground. Well, maybe I've fallen over a couple times on
I can
trail
see a little
riding.
dirt on that. So
There's a little dirt on
There's
that.
no shame in that at all.
No, it's like
that's what they're for.
And part of that off-road class with Motorcycles and Dulles was really about how do you pick up a bike like this. You see some of the YouTube videos with a 110-pound girl, just young lady backing into it, and so I've had to pick it up a couple times on the side of a trail. And it's the way you do it, and it works.
I had that happen to me once on that trip to Portugal I took last year.
Oh, you didn't tell me about
that. It's the one time I dumped. I was kind of hoping it would be off-road. This was on-road. I was over on my bike, which was a modern version of this bike. It's the 1300 that just came out, and this was last summer, so summer of 2024. And of all the places, we were stopped for gas, and we pulled over for gas. And
At a gas station.
At a gas station, but there was a pitch, and I pulled up where there wasn't a pitch, and there was actually a truck parked there. And he moved up, and I said, "Oh, this is perfect." I went and took his spot. There was only one spot for unleaded at that gas station, and it was perfect. But then a car came behind me and wanted me to move, so I'm like, I'm trying to be the nice tourist. I went out of my way, and I came around where Mike was, and it was on an incline, and it was sandy. And I put it down, I parked it down, and just it slid ahead and just gently went down. I couldn't believe it. It was a rental bike too.
Yeah.
So I ended up tearing up a little bit of the side bag and the roll cage of the crash bars, and but then getting it back up was no problem. I think that was the adrenaline that kicked in.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was just so embarrassed that it happened there, and it went down really gently. But it was a bit to get up, but it wasn't too bad.
Did you do it from backing into it and picking it up
did.
going
That's
backwards?
the-
That's
yeah,
the
that's
way
what I
you
did.
squat down with it. and
Squat
pull
it
up.
down, lock.
Use the handlebar,
Yep.
grab back here,
Yeah.
and it just comes up.
Yeah, and it just came out. Like actually, Mike was there too, but it was just me powering through it. But it was just, anyways, it was a kind of cool experience. I just wish it happened off road so it didn't damage the bike.
Wasn't
Yeah.
your bike and you had rental insurance?
I did, yeah, exactly. So I learned on that. So back to the boots. Let's talk about these guys. Those look familiar to me.
Yeah, so another Craig recommendation, another buy from Motorcycles of Dulles,
Yeah.
Sidi Boots. We were talking about this earlier too. I've not used them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the feel of the protection, especially around the ankles.
Mm-hmm.
But the size of the bottom with the toe, I don't feel the pegs that I'm standing on, because what I do is usually less than 20 miles an hour. I'm standing up, I'm on a trail, it's clutch and throttle. And when I go to get underneath the gear shift, I just need to get used to it. I don't have, like when I wear these, just typical, just hiking
low
boots.
profile.
I can feel the pegs, I can feel the gear shift a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I just need to get a little more comfortable with that.
Yeah, I can see too. I mean, I found the same thing. It took a lot of getting used to. You do have the wide pegs, which is good. Otherwise, you feel it up in here. This does have a low profile, but to your point, it's certainly not as low as that. So that takes some getting used to. But I love these bikes. These boots. I can talk about them all day long, and that's why I've kind of urged him to get that model. So why don't we talk a little bit about this beautiful trailer back here, man? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, this is the Kendon trailer.
Kendon, okay.
Yeah, Kendon. And the idea here was, look, if I'm going to do off-road, right, this is a family discussion.
Sure.
If that's the agreement, then I got to have a trailer.
Yeah,
right? So
understood.
you use those things to justify the buy.
Yeah.
But this is the ones that they fold up. A single person of my size can actually lay, well, first of all, I have a winch that I have some space way up above the head here in the garage.
Yeah.
And I winch it up because I was having it up against the walls and it just takes space. We winch it up, the bike really parks beneath here and then I can get cars in. But it's the one that it's lightweight. I hook it up behind a Subaru, Forester of all things.
The grocery getter,
Yeah, the grocery getter. And it can carry two bikes. I thought about the single bike, but Craig, I told you when I got this one, for when you and I go, I wanted a second bike capacity, so this is me and you on this.
Beautiful. And that's on the cards for the summer for sure.
Exactly.
You probably can't tell from the camera, but he's got, 10 foot ceilings at least, and it looks even higher up there. So from where I'm standing, you can see, what is that, probably a 5 horsepower engine or something like that, a hoist?
Yeah, it can.
It could probably take
I went way over on the engineering of it,
Yeah.
and then I even got the change just in case
Amazing.
the winch were to drop. I didn't want it to
Amazing.
come down on the bike of all things.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'm looking forward to getting a trip on this.
Yeah.
Let's get out to that property.
It's all ready for us.
Beautiful. Well, it's been a lot of fun, man. It's really nice to be able to go back in time and talk about this bike, and kind of looking forward to getting it on the road with you.
Yeah, well, number one, I still remember the first time I saw the bike. Every time I come to your house or at the Dude Fest, I would see it there. I love the vintage of this being a 2005. You kept it
gorgeous.
in pristine condition. And then just going through everything of the gear to buy, the lights, the horn, the GPS. It's fun thinking about it and planning. People say, well, Paul, how often do you drive it? And it's not about that. For me,
I agree.
I see it every morning in the garage.
I agree.
And I enjoy when I do get a chance to ride it. Life is still busy, right?
Yeah.
There's this thing called work, but
Yeah.
I look forward to getting out on the trails with you, Craig.
Yeah, well, let's plan on doing that this summer. So I can't thank you enough, man. You got a beautiful garage set up here. It's nice to come back and see this bike. It's really nice to see that it's in great hands. I appreciate it.
Love being between the spokes with you, Craig.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. And to everybody watching right now, please like it if you like what you saw. If you have any comments, please add comments. Hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or anything about the bike, please hit me up at betweentwospokes@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram, which is @betweentwospokes. I'll get more content on Instagram. I haven't been on that as much as I should be. But thank you very much. This has been episode 3 with Paul. Beautiful bike. You have a great day, and thanks for watching.
Thank you, Craig.
Bye-bye. Thanks, buddy. That was great. Ooh, bring it in. Bring it in. Awesome.
Thank you.
Nice. One take. You gotta love that.
Yeah, who would?